Next up, guys, we have our first Freddy figure, and this is from part 2. Really like the sculpt that's going on with this figure. I mean, look at that screaming head sculpt. Looks great. I really do enjoy this. It's definitely my favorite Freddy in the collection that we have because I really don't like the rest of them. The rest of them, I think one of ours is missing a hat and a hand for a wrestling figure custom, and then this one's just, I don't know, I just think, oh my god, I dropped his hat, gone forever. Just kidding, it's right here, I found it. But nonetheless, really strong looking Freddy. This is definitely my favorite one in the collection. You guys will see the rest in the rest of the video, but I really like this one from part 2. Really good stuff. Next up, guys, we have another Freddy versus Jason, but this time the machete is not on fire, but yeah, we have a couple of these because, you know, we like to get the different versions of Jason. There's a ton of Jasons in this video, and you guys will see that. Part 3, Part 4, Part 5, we have all the different versions, and here is another Freddy versus Jason. Next up, guys, we have another Jason from Friday the 13th. This is from Part 2, obviously, and this is our first look at adult Jason. I mean, in the first one, you know, he just comes out of the lake there at the end. His mother was, of course, the killer in the original, and so this is our first look at Jason before he donned the mask, and he has the bag over his head and the pickaxe. Really nice figure. I think this is very underrated from NECA. That plaid they got going on under the overalls is really nice. All the dirt going on. Really one of my favorite Jason figures. I think it's just over the top. You know, it's got a blend of all these different colors, and it really stands out. Next up, guys, we have a figure that, well, I guess you can call it a figure. I mean, it's got some articulation, but it's mainly a statue, and this is a Part 7, Friday the 13th, Part 7. This is our Kane Hodder that we have here, and this is from NECA, I do believe, but it is a statue. I want a full-fledged NECA Ultimate figure with all the articulation, all the bells and whistles from NECA. I really do want it, and what I'm thinking is, I know right now there's some licensing issues, you know, people not wanting to give up the license, and just a bunch of freaking stuff going on in the court system right now, but if we end up getting a Kane Hodder, a Part 7 NECA, I'm going to buy like 25 of them. They look just so beautiful. I would love to see what this would look like in, you know, fully articulated mode. Also, another thing I would like to note is that if they were to make this figure, they're going to have to recreate the entire Jason mold, because most of the Jasons they have given us so far have roughly the same mold. I know the Freddy vs. Jason and the Part 2 are a little bit different than the rest, but the Part 3, the Part 4, the Part 5, and the Part 6 have roughly the same mold, so they would have to definitely overhaul it and get all of this sculpt detail in here. I mean, look at his freaking spine is showing. They have a lot of stuff going on, and this sculpt work is incredible. I mean, that is exactly how Kane Hodder looked in Part 7 as Jason, so I think that if they were to completely overhaul it, you know, give it some beefy muscle, because Kane Hodder's a big dude, I think it's something that they would nail if they were to venture out on it, but unfortunately, we are going to have to wait on that to see if the day will come. Next up, guys, we have nothing special here, but we do have Tiffany from Bride of Chucky, and she's carrying the shovel here. You know, I just stuck on, I have her wearing the leather jacket. They get in this figure, they actually give you a bunch of different accessories to give her a bunch of different looks, but I wanted this look. I think I like the leather jacket look. Next up, guys, we have another Jason, and it is, I think this is our first look at a Part 3, and it is the Mezco version, and this one's completely different than the NECA version, and what we can do here is compare it to the NECA version. So the NECA version is much bigger, but I think that this one in the skin is much more realistic. I like the neck going on here, but it's much smaller. I mean, look at this difference here. You can kind of see the different takes on the pants. This is more of a light jeans. This is more of like a, almost like a khaki color, but here we have a Part 3 Jason where he is carrying the spear gun, and that is actually the first kill that he had with, you know, donning the mask, so that's pretty cool fact for you there. But nonetheless, I would like to know down in the comment section below, are you Team Mezco or Team NECA? Let me know down in the comment section below. I think I'm Team NECA. I just can't get over the scaling of the Mezcos, but they are really highly, nicely, you know, they have a lot of detail. They have great cloth accessories and stuff. But for me, I'm Team NECA. Next up, guys, we have two Friday the 13th 2009 remakes right here. One donning the mask and one with the wrap or bag over his head. I believe it's like a, yeah, I think it's a bag, but it's like all matted and it kind of looks like a wrap, but I believe it is a bag. But I think this is from, you know, the pre-intro or like the little prequel, right, like before he gets into the main story of the film. This is what he's wearing, and then he's wearing the mask later on, if I'm not mistaken about that. But nonetheless, a very interesting take on Jason. You know, he wasn't just straight up chasing after people and killing them. This Jason had, you know, sort of he had a brain in him. He could set traps. He had like a bell system to notify him of when people were, you know, around the area. I mean, he was keeping people in cages. I mean, this Jason was a lot more, he was a lot smarter than other Jasons, I guess is what you could say, but really cool, you know, representation of Jason. It's definitely a different take, and I can respect that if you're, you know, going a little bit outside the box, giving it your own creative spin, even though the movie movie. It wasn't much of anything. Just your basic slasher, in my opinion, is what it was. But nonetheless, a different take on the look of Jason. Do you prefer the wrap or the mask? Team mask all the way. Moving on, guys, we have just so many freaking figures, man. I mean, this is ridiculous, but I guess we can get into our video game versions of these figures. We have the NES Freddy, and I think I dropped his hat. Here it is. Let's go ahead and grab it. We have our NES Freddy, and then we have our NES Jason Friday the 13th re-release. This is not the SDC exclusive, and the SDCC exclusive actually has this black line around the collar and down the middle of the t-shirt. That's not a t-shirt, you stupid jackass. That's a regular work shirt. But you're going to see when we dig in the box, it's under there somewhere. The original SDCC version, I think from 2013, actually did not have this stripe, so that is something to note. Moving on, guys, we have a Part 5 Jason from... this is the Dream Sequence Part 5 Jason, and NECA went for the version of trying to make him look wet, and I don't know if you guys can tell on camera, but he's donning like a shimmer to him. The mask also has it, but we have two different versions here. You got some worms coming up out of the mask here. You also have just a regular version, and over here he's carrying the axe, and over here he's carrying the machete, and these are pretty much just like Part 3 and Part 4, a little bit differently, but if you were to compare the figures up side by side, I mean, they're relatively the same figure, just, you know, from different movies, and so there are these, and I'm still waiting on my Part 5 that should be releasing very soon, or it has released. I'm just waiting on mine to get here, so that will be exciting to add. Next up, guys, we have a Part 3, and then we have a Part 4 here, and this is what I'm talking about. You guys can see you have the Part 3 with the pitchfork, and then you have the Part 4 over here. Very, very similar figures. I mean, they're basically the same figure, different variations of color here and there. Of course, you have the differences in the pockets, but for the most part, I mean, they're relatively the same, and we have many of these. We have like 3 or 4 Part 3s and 3 or 4 Part 4s, and you will see this in this